All right, Greg Travis on the Fishbowl once again. Welcome.
I am indeed. Thank you, Sam.
Thanks for coming to swim in the bowl with me.
What type of fish should I be? Gold
Well,
or shark or halibut?
I think there's only room for one shark in this sea, and that's me. But
Tapia? Tapia? Oh, man. So, how's it going there?
good. We're getting a nice break from the insane hot weather that we've been having all summer long, hot and humid.
And we're getting it because this week was a heat wave here up in the hundreds. And, boy, I really sounded southern there, didn't I? Hundred. Um, yeah, so hopefully it'll break after a few more days. It's been really hot here as well.
Yeah, well, they say that we're supposed to get a pretty harsh winter. So they say. Um, the last few winters here in Pittsburgh have been really iffy. Uh, they either get extremely cold in temperature, not that much snow, but insanely cold in temperature, or it just decides to one day be in the 60s or 70s, and the next day back down into the 40s or 30s.
hmm And back in the '80s, fall came a lot quicker. I remember I lived in New York in and out in the '80s, and it seemed like by the September rolling around, it started to cool off quite a bit.
Right.
But I guess it has gotten a little hotter as the years gone by. But yeah, so I've just been working hard promoting Dark Seduction, which is coming out October 11th on North American VOD platforms, pay-per-view, both internet and cable platforms. So we're real excited to have a good distributor on this one and getting it out there in a very big way.
Awesome. I am so excited to check it out, especially since I guess it's in the works that you may be taking a trip to Pittsburgh to showcase the film at the Dormont Theater in possibly November, is what I was talking with them about.
That's great. Yeah, I'd love to do that. Yep.
Yeah, they were totally open to it.
Oh, great.
They basically even said all I really wanted to do was like host the event and do like a Q&A with you, after
Uh,
the show or something, and they were like totally all right with that, at least what it sounded like. So,
Good.
hopefully this will be the first like fishbowl event, and do a little Q&A and showcase the film.
Fantastic. I'd love to do that. Yep. You sure would. Yeah, I'm doing that in a few other Comic Cons, and I've got to talk with a guy today who books those, so we're going to maybe do a few more as well. And sooner or later, I'm hoping to get it, once it gets out there and people start to, you know, be familiar with it and like it, I think it's a perfect midnight movie. And so I have visions of women dressing up like Serena and Vera and guys dressing up like Dick Jones and lining up to see it as a midnight movie, because it's short, it's to the point, it's a lot of fun, it's funny, and it gets a little scary and serious at times, but mostly it's just a lot of fun.
Right. I love going to see like the midnight movies. Like I'm glad that there's still like a few theaters in Pittsburgh that do stuff like that.
hmm
The
There's
Dormont's one of
about
them.
100 theaters all across the country that still show midnight movies, believe it or not. There's a bunch of them in California and then all across, the more independent chains like the Landmarks and some of those chains that usually they show Rocky Horror on a Saturday night, and then they have a rotation of about 12 or 14 films that they show on the Friday night midnight slot. And kids come out, people come out, college kids mainly, but they still come out to check it out.
That's great. I mean, one of the midnight movies that I'm actually going to check out next weekend at the Dormont Theater is Phantasm Ravager. I'm not sure if you're familiar with the Phantasm movies.
Oh yeah, my sister was in one of them. I
Okay.
think she might have been in Phantasm 2. It was back in the 80s. And I think that's the one she's in, Phantasm 2, I believe. Um, I'm not positive, but I know she's in one of them. It could be 2 or 3. I don't think it's the first one. I think it's the second or third one.
Yeah,
How many
it
did
would
they
have to
do
be
of those?
the second or third. Yeah.
How many did they do of those Phantasm
This is
movies?
the fifth and final entry.
Big five on the Phantasm series. Wow. And then I heard somewhere where they might do, with the original director, might come back and do another Halloween movie.
Yeah, they were
Um,
talking about. I think it's the working title right now is Halloween Returns.
mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I recently
What was the last one that he did? I don't think he directed it, but it was like H2O or something with the
well,
first original character series. Was that the fifth one in the original Halloween
let's
series?
see, let's see. It goes because I know this. It goes Halloween, Halloween Part Two. Then there's Halloween 3, Season of the Witch, which has
Uh-huh.
nothing to do with any of the Michael Myers movies.
Oh, really?
It was just this it's like basically what John Carpenter's initial intent was with the Halloween movies was, if you notice, like Halloween 1 and Halloween 2 are like a part 1, part 2, and
Mm-hmm.
Michael Myers pretty much dies at the end of part 2 with Loomis. I mean, they're burned alive,
Oh,
burned to
right.
death,
Right.
with the explosion in the hospital. At the end of the movie, I mean, clearly they're dead. And then what Carpenter wanted to do was to start like an anthology movie series, and basically every Halloween release a new movie that had like the title like after Halloween 3, Season of the Witch, it would have been Halloween 4, and some other title with a extension of the title, and have it be an entirely different movie that was going to be released every Halloween. But the at the time, like the concept to the audience fan base was a little
Mm-hmm.
too abstract, and they didn't get what he was trying to do. And like today, that would totally work because you have the proper like marketing techniques to do it. But back then, people wanted to see more Michael Myers. They didn't understand why this movie has Halloween 3 and Michael Myers isn't in it.
Oh, wow.
And
I don't think I ever saw that one.
that one's actually pretty cool. It's like basically a group of witches that have like remained in behind the scenes since like um, the Dark Ages, where people were there was human sacrifice basically,
Oh, okay.
and they actually end up like stealing Stonehenge
Mm-hmm.
in the movie, and take it to this town, and there's like this Irish toy company that like owns this town, and like they're making like toy robots that are people that are like killing people, and basically it's like the certain amount of time has gone by, and it's time for that mass like sacrifice to the gods again. And basically they have this whole like dark diabolical plan to kill all this mass children on Halloween
Oh, good
night with
Lord.
like masks, and it's really a cool movie. But after that, they did Halloween 4, The Return of Michael Myers,
That's right. Yeah.
and that was like,
I might have seen a part of that on TV at one time. I remember a little bit of that one.
yeah, and
Yeah.
that was a part 1, part 2. Um, Also, the one that came after that, it was Halloween, The Return of Michael Myers, Halloween. So that's like 5 that came after that. I forget what that one was called. It was like Halloween. Um, the Curse of Michael Myers, I think, was like 7. Then they did H2O, which was Jamie Lee Curtis returned, and that was
Mm-hmm.
actually Josh Hartnett's first movie. And then they did Halloween Resurrection, which came
Oh,
after
okay.
that,
Yeah.
and they killed off Jamie Lee Curtis's character in the beginning of the movie,
Oh,
and
wow.
it was kind of like at the tail end of like Michael Myers, because that was like early 2000s, and they haven't done another one since. And then Rob Zombie did his remakes, which you were actually in one of them.
Yep. I was in two, and I was happy to be there. It was a good production, and they had a pretty good little budget on it. And I think they had more than they did the first go around with his first Halloween remake. And yeah, we had fun. We had fun. You know, it was outside of Atlanta, and you know, I thought it had moments where it was really pretty scary. There was some of that early stuff where it's raining and Michael Myers is sneaking up on the guy in the toll booth or the security booth or whatever. That was pretty scary, and then some of the later stuff in the film was pretty creepy. He has a different approach. Rob Zombie has more of a violent is scary sort of theme running through his movies, where when it gets really violent, he thinks that's really scary, and sometimes it is. Um, what's the director's name on the first Halloween's?
John Carpenter.
Yeah, John Carpenter. His whole thing, and I think the reason he didn't like the zombie versions was that he liked the camera creeping around. So we have this slow tension building when it's creeping around the house, looking through the windows and everything. We know something's going to happen, but it's a slow build. And that is good too. That makes it, you know, creepy up until the scare. And I think that's what's missing in the zombie films is it didn't have that slow creep around, you know, sort of like slow build. It's just all of a sudden he's there, there's a shock, and then it gets violent. You know what I mean?
Right.
So that's my take on it. I may be completely wrong. I don't know, but I think I'm right.
Well, I think you're absolutely right. I don't know if you've seen what I've been sharing on Facebook, but there's been a recent feud between Carpenter and Rob
Yeah,
Zombie.
I saw that video. I did see John Carpenter talking about that. Yeah, yeah, I did.
It's interesting. They settled it, because we're horror people. We don't
Mm-hmm.
you know we lash out, and then it's like, all right, opinion taken. Let's settle the conflict. Because
Yeah.
it's all in good fun with horror movies. Whereas
Mm-hmm.
you have rap beefs and cat fights that continue to go on, and I guess what I'm trying to say is that's the
And you
difference
know,
between
all
both
horror
movies.
directors are a little persnickety when it comes to their movies and being remade. And Toby Hooper was like that too with Texas Chainsaw being remade. He got probably paid pretty good for being the creator, writer, or whatever, but he didn't like it because, you know, I think it diminishes the original because then they end up showing the new version on cable rather than the original version, you know.
Right. And I'm
So,
I'm I'm definitely much more a fan of the originals.
oh, me
Um,
too. The original is a classic, man. I mean, on the big screen, it's not so much scary on the little screen, but on the big screen, it still works just as good today as it did then, I
oh,
think.
in fact, I think the Texas Chainsaw Massacre Part One and Two, that Toby Hooper directed both,
Yeah.
are some of like the scariest pieces of horror movie films of like the starting in the '70s with the first
I
one.
don't know about two, and I have not sat down and watched two on the big screen. I've only seen bits and pieces of it. I'm not sure it's that scary. It seems to be a little bit more comedic, but
It
the
definitely has like
first
a
one, yeah,
I mean, it definitely
go
has
ahead.
like a black comedy, take, but there's
Yeah.
some really great scary moments in it, and
Mhm.
the I just actually bought the director's cut on Blu-ray for the Scream Factory edition,
Mhm.
and they cut some serious stuff from that movie, and even though it's like a black comedy take, I mean the humor is you're only laughing because it's so, you know, it's sick and twisted, you know, like more sick and twisted because basically you go into who this family really is, because at the end of the first one, the hitchhiker character gets killed,
Mhm.
and in the second one, you still have the basically the leader who's like the eldest family member besides Grandpa, and you have Leatherface, and in the second one you have a character named Chop Top, which was played by Bill Moseley, who's been in a number of.
Oh yeah, who I know quite well. Yeah.
I actually
Yeah.
I'm going to get
Absolutely. Yeah.
Bill on the show in probably
Right.
next month, um, but basically, Bill Moseley's character was named Chop Top, and that was like
Mhm.
his breakthrough role as like becoming a horror movie icon. And Chop
Right.
Top's deal was like he has a metal plate in his head, and like the story behind Chop Top is he was supposed to be in Vietnam during the first film, and he got like a machete to the head, which basically is the reason why he has the metal plate. And he was sent home on discharge, and basically, you know, is back with the family, and that him and Leatherface have continued to go out and kill people all throughout, you know, Texas. When this leading up to where the second film takes place, and it has a great opening where, you know, two guys get knocked off with, you know, great effects by Tom Savini. You know, right in the beginning with the chainsaw and the chase scene, you know, in Texas, and it's like the family kept the hitchhiker's body, like, you know, preserved, basically like
Oh,
a
okay.
corpse
Right.
preserved, and it's great because you have Dennis Hopper, the late great Dennis Hopper, in
Yeah,
that
he's in it
movie,
too. Yeah.
and his deal is that he's the like uncle of the two main characters that were from the first one, and he's like a Texas Ranger or something, like some type of
Mhm.
marshal, and he's been tracking the killings that this supposedly family of cannibals have been doing like across the state of Texas the last like 10 years, and basically, you know, he gets him, and there's like an awesome actual like chainsaw battle at the end of the movie between Leatherface and Dennis Hopper, and
Oh, okay. Okay.
it's so like ridiculously awesome, you know, that and of
Yeah.
course, you know, Dennis Hopper gets him, you know, and that's like where the movie is intentionally supposed to end because it's a part one, part two. The family gets killed, and you know the third one, which is called Leatherface, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre Part Three. I actually like that movie, even though it technically shouldn't exist. It's basically like if you think of it as like, you know, more like a slasher movie, Leatherface, you know, for the '90s, just
Mhm.
like not acting as if like part one and part two actually existed. It's like a whole new. It's kind of like the Halloween three of the Texas
Is that the
Chainsaw.
one with Matthew McConaughey and?
No, that's the fourth one.
Oh, is that the fourth one? Okay. I don't
Yeah,
think I've seen bits and pieces of two, and I don't think I've seen three at all. I've
three.
seen the fourth one then because I watched that. That one was really weird. It's just
Yeah,
like
the fourth one.
seemed
It's
like a
like,
lot of improvising and a lot of like very unsure footing they were on going into
yeah,
that one. You know.
yeah. That one is was real interesting. It's definitely my least favorite. Uh,
Yeah.
but I mean, Viggo Mortensen was actually one of the family members in the third one.
Oh, that's right. I saw an early '80s film by this female director who's quite well known now, called Loveless. Did you ever see that? It's a really obscure title on some '50s rock and rollers who've got like hot rods and motorcycles, and they're just kind of hanging out at these different places along the roadside, and it's really interesting. I mean, it's a little slow, but it's very, well acted, and there's some pretty well-known actors in it. It was like their first film, type of thing.
Right.
But I'm trying to think of the director's name. Let me look it up really quick. I hate to bring it up and not know. Here it is. Catherine Bigelow. She co-directed it with Monty Montegray and Catherine Bigelow. I think it was her first film. Robert Gordon did the music, who was like that kind of a '80s, '50s throwback in the '80s, and he was like kind of an Elvis type rockabilly guy in the '80s. But yeah, it's really interesting. Willem Dafoe was the lead in it.
Yeah, I have heard of that movie.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. I just came across the DVD and picked it up, and yeah, it's really interesting. '81 it was done, so. But yeah, I'm excited. We're going to be putting out Dark Seduction, and then we got the making of documentary called 30 Years of Dark Seduction, which is out on YouTube now. I cut that this summer, and so we got that out there as kind of a precursor to the movie itself, kind of letting everybody know what the backstory is. And we'll eventually be adding that to the DVD and the Blu-ray as well when those come around. So, yeah, it came out quite nice. I'm real proud of that work. I had never done a documentary before, and I just sort of like wanted it to move pretty quickly. And I tell the story of it. I'm sort of the narrator and the host of the whole thing. And so I go back to all the old locations that we shot at and kind of reminisce and, tell you sort of what we did and different stories. And then I interviewed as many people as I could who were involved with the movie. And, yeah, it's a lot of fun. So people seem to like it, and they get a kick out of the backstory. So it's, I'm glad I did it.
Awesome. I cannot wait to check this film out. I'm going to definitely get a sneak peek at it once it's on video on demand. And then if everything works out with the Dormont Theater, I'm going to be truly excited to see it on the big screen.
Absolutely. Yeah, that will be good. So what else do we want to talk about, Sam?
Well, there is a film that I just watched that's currently out right now. And I was very interested to check it out, and I have to say I was not disappointed in the least bit, and in fact I was truly surprised and pleased to be surprised at how awesome it was, and that's Mel Gibson's Bloodfather.
Oh yeah. He
Film
is probably one of our best directors in America, and nobody knows it.
Right.
Mel Gibson is a genius. I don't care what anybody says about him. I mean, he's a good actor. I don't know that he's a great actor. I mean, he's got a pretty good set of tools to work with, but I mean, I've loved him since, Mad Max 1. I mean,
me too.
I saw it on the big screen when it first came out. I saw the dubbed version because the idiot distributors thought nobody would understand Australian accents, so they had a weird kind of cartoon-like dubbed version that they released. But it was a very cool film. It was a very comic book, and, it was very different from anything we'd seen. I've been a fan since then, but I can't believe what a good director he is. He is just so Apocalypto. I thought was a masterpiece. I mean, it was so intense and so energized, and the art direction, the costumes, the look of it all was just so unbelievably, you know, authentic.
I know. And the crazy thing is, he's been like kind of blacklisted for I counted it. It was like 11 years, and like 11 years, kind of like right around the time that it happened, which I remember was like it was like a September, like the whole incident with him 11 years ago with bad mouthing the Jews and everything.
Yeah, but
Was
he's been doing films since then. He's acted in
he
like
has,
I would say
but
maybe 4 or 5 films, and then he's directed a couple of things since then. So
right, but
when you got $500 million in your production fund for your company, it's not much they can do to fuck with you. Pardon my
right.
French, but
Right. I was just saying that
you know,
it wasn't like at the status that he was at, and I feel
yeah.
like he would have. I feel like he definitely, because actually I know he was a part of the new Mad Max movie up until it happened, and that is what like prevented Mad Max Fury Road from being made up until like last year.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I thought he bowed out of it. No, I never knew he was involved with it. I thought he was thinking that he was too old because he
Well,
has turned down a lot of parts where they want him, and he has a real thing about age things. He wants to be
right.
age specific, and so I was thinking that he bowed out of it because he thought he was too old. But I would have loved to have seen him in
Yeah,
that. I think it would have been great.
the movie has been in development for like over 10 years.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
remember reading about it when I was in high school, and at that point there was talks that Mel Gibson was going to return,
Was he going to come back?
was
Yeah,
going to
yeah.
come back, and then that incident happened, and then I heard that there was issues with filming locations, um, where they were trying to shoot because of certain like actual war conflicts going on in certain areas. I think they were trying to film in parts of Africa, and in some other places. There
Hmm.
was just conflict going on. It was too dangerous to film. So I really liked Mad Max Fury Road. I
Did
thought
they shoot it all in Australia, or was it other
not all
places?
of that. I could definitely tell that not all of that was Australia.
Uh
They
huh.
definitely went to different filming locations across the world to
Hmm.
get the different desert atmospheres
Oh,
for
okay.
the film. Um, but I mean, I liked it, and me and all my fellow nerdism friends that loved the Mad Max trilogy were so fan geeked out for the film. It's one of the first films that I actually saw 3 times in theaters. The last one I think I did that with was Predators. Um,
Hmm.
and
Now, did you see the black and white version that they were going to release on Blu-ray or DVD or something as an extra? Did that happen? Where they were going to release the whole thing in black and white?
I am actually not sure. I had just actually bought.
Maybe they didn't do that. I heard they were going to have a black and white version for some odd reason, and when I saw it in the theater, I was absolutely positive it was film because it had such a hard-edged look to it, and I knew that George really likes to shoot on film and is a big fan of film. But evidently, they did shoot on digital,
Yes, they did.
that's so tricky because the reason they shoot The Walking Dead on film and the reason they shoot some of the other films on film still is because of the sunlight issue on digital. Sunlight can be very difficult to deal with because you get a lot of burn spots and a lot of harsh sunlight. It doesn't handle that as well as film does. And that whole movie was basically outside except for the inside stuff on
The
the
Cinedome.
at the beginning
Right.
at the
The
whatever
Morton
you call
Joe's
that.
the Cinedome.
Yeah, the fortress. Yeah.
Yeah.
But boy, I was blown away. I thought it looked fantastic. You know.
I thought it did too, and like I knew that this wasn't like a reboot. It was a new entry into the Mad Max series.
Yeah. The
Like
only thing I didn't understand, which I looked at it again not too long ago, and I still didn't get it, was the flashbacks he's having at the beginning about some little girl is in there and she's talking to him, and
that's supposed to be his son.
where did a son come in the series? I don't remember. Was there something in the third one that
Well, I mean,
related to that?
his son got killed in Mad Max One with his
Oh, that
wife.
one. Oh, okay. Well,
Yeah,
I didn't get that at all.
yeah. So I guess they
Yeah,
were
I didn't get
trying
that. That was a
to
little bit. I didn't think they needed that. It seemed to
yeah.
be
I
a
didn't
very
think they needed that
distracting.
either.
Yeah,
I think they might go into more depth with that with the next one they're supposed to be, what George is supposed to be working on.
right. And the weird part is, if you're gonna do that at the beginning of the film, like if he's having these flashbacks and he's having this guilt feelings or
Right,
whatever it is, if that should at least be referred to by the end of the film to some sort of resolution. I
right.
felt like they did it at the beginning and then they forgot about it completely. You know.
The kid did show up again in the fight scene when he got like the arrow through his hand that hit his head, but they didn't like follow through on the actual like what was going on there with the backstory. Um,
Mm-hmm.
it's like he's haunted, yes,
Well, the
but
kid died when he was a baby, wasn't he? He was a
right.
little
So
kid.
I
He was like
guess they
1 years
were
old. I mean, I don't
trying
understand.
to
That kid was like 3 or 4, or maybe even
right. He was an
older.
infant, so I guess they were trying to reboot it in some way with it also being like a new entry into the series.
Yeah.
Um, I didn't think they needed that. I felt like that was a last minute decision
Hmm.
because like it was probably like the corporate people in Hollywood telling him nobody's going to understand your movie. That's like didn't grow up with knowing the three prior when they
Hmm.
just should have just let
Well,
him
I
do
mean,
his
it was
thing.
kind of clear that he was having flashbacks about some kid that may or may not
Right,
be around anymore, but it just didn't his character didn't seem to be dealing with it on any level at all, you know, other than
right,
the flashback itself. I didn't see anything in Tom Hardy's character that, you know, was sad about that or that was having, you know, I mean, he's in the middle of an action scene most of the time. So
right,
it's like, you
right,
know, he's got his like face covered by this like, you know, Silence of the Lambs mask, you know.
right.
So
And he only
it's like,
has
you
like
know,
25 lines total, like
I
throughout the
know.
whole movie.
I know. I know. Yeah. Well, it's too bad old Mel couldn't have done that one. That would have been a
Right.
lot of fun to see him come back, and I think it would have worked perfectly to have him in there as the character again.
Yeah, I would have loved to have seen it. I think that would have just made it more coherent, and they
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't
Mm-hmm.
have, you
I
know.
tried to watch Thunderdome. They've had like I don't know what channel had them all three back to back. The first two I can watch anytime, over and over again. Thunderdome. I don't know what was going on with George Miller in that movie. I just don't get it. It's maybe something to do with Australia because it certainly doesn't have anything to do with Mad Max, you know. It's
Right.
just a real departure into a Fellini world that I don't really understand, you know.
Well, I mean, like to me, like it goes Road Warrior, Mad Max Fury Road, Thunderdome, and then the original Mad Max.
Yeah.
Like Thunderdome to me was a great movie except for the middle part. Like I don't understand what the deal with the kids was.
Yeah, the whole
I
kids
get that they were
thing.
like survivors of like
I
you
don't
know.
even understand what the whole Thunderdome town was about. I thought that was pretty.
Oh, I mean, I thought
I
that
mean,
was
I get
awesome
it. I mean,
because
of course I understand it, but I just don't know. It's so kindergarten. It just doesn't, you know. I don't know. There's no danger element. It's like ooh, beep, boop, 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 beep, boo. You know, it's kind of like what George Lucas did with the third Star Wars movie. You know, with the, you know, he just went kindergarten with it, and it just, I don't know, it just kind of lays there. You know.
Yeah, I mean, it has a great opening. I mean, I guess what he was trying to show, except for I don't know what the middle part was about. But I guess what he was trying to show, at least that I could tell with the evolution of the three films, is that in like Mad Max One, it's like society is still together, but it's quickly falling, and in Road Warrior, society has like completely fallen, and people are basically in their primal, instincts,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
in everything. I mean, they even refer to the gangs are no longer gangs; they're tribes. And then basically in Thunderdome, it's like with Bartertown was the name of the town that Tina Turner and Master Blaster were at, and that's basically showing that society is starting to pull itself back together, because now you have towns, and the conflict that was going on in the town that he got like himself tangled in, was basically which leader is better to fit, and it was a conflict amongst the leaders of the town, and that's why he needed to take out
Sure. Sure.
Master Blaster. Um, but
Yeah, but I'm just talking about the danger element was so
right.
well executed in Mad Max 2 that
Oh yeah,
it would have
yeah,
been nice to have that kind of feeling and that kind of dangerous world feeling. Even though it was a Western and it was a little bit comic book, it still had a grounded reality, and I still felt the tension and the danger of it all, you know?
right.
This one just felt so Kittyland, like, okay, now we're going to go off into Kittyland, with this idea,
Yeah,
and,
it definitely
it just
had that
felt like
element.
goofy and silly, and none of the characters were really dangerous, and, it all got real sappy and cheesy at every turn, every plot twist, and it just, and then it went really into Kittyland when he went and, got taken by the kids, and they think he's their great leader and all that. But I don't know. I just think it would have been great if he would have taken that budget and gone into a really dark and very dangerous place with the character. It would have been a lot more fun for, I think, that type of movie.
I think so too. And also like Mad Max and the Road Warrior got R ratings, and Thunderdome got a PG-13.
Right, right.
I'm glad with Fury Road they went back to R. You know,
Mm-hmm.
because that certain films like deserve to be shown in R.
Which the town, I don't know the name of it in Fury Road, but it was sort of reminiscent of the Thunderdome
Right.
idea of this
It's,
big
it's
town
actually
with a big leader, and sort of like keeping
right.
control of everybody. And
the town is called the Cinedome.
Citadel, yeah.
Right. And actually the bad guy Martin Joe, who's the bad guy in Fury Road, is actually the toe cutter, who's the villain from the original Mad Max.
That's right. That's right. He's great. He's great. I'm glad he got a chance to. I think he's like 70 now or something. So
Yeah.
it must have been fun for him. He's probably the same age George Miller. Fun for him to come back and do that.
Right.
At that age. So that's great. That must have been some hot ass shooting days out there in that desert, though. Oh my God, I can't even imagine. I shot a zombie comedy called Dug Up, which is on some cable company called Infinity or something like that. Infinity X or something like that. I think it's Xfinity. That's it.
That's what I have. Comcast.
Oh, okay. Well, there's a movie I did called Dug Up. It's on there somewhere, maybe pay-per-view, I don't know. But we shot it in Vermont in the middle of summer, and oh my God, it was so hot. It was humid. It was just really, really warm, like up in the 120. And it's just brutal when you're out there trying to do something and you've got to stay in character and you're like wearing backpacks and a military fatigue and
Right.
it's like I think I played the sheriff in that one, so it wasn't too bad with the costume, but still it's very tough to shoot outside for long days like that, out in the sun when it's that hot, you know.
Absolutely.
So, but yeah, I haven't even seen the final film yet. I've got to get a hold of it. I don't know if it's out on DVD or not. I'll have to look it up. But it's kind of a fun little zombie. It's kind of like a Southern fried zombie comedy. Kind of like a bunch of hicks dealing with zombies. A little bit in the Walking Dead vein, but much more comedic.
Right.
Yeah. So, and I saw another one that I acted in called The Bornless Ones, which used to be titled Gothia, but now it's called The Bornless Ones. And I play like a service station guy, the creepy guy at the service station when they're on their way to the cabin, that type of character. And that one turned out pretty good. It's very there's a lot of like blood and pins and sticks sticking into people for long periods of time. But it's got some scary moments in it, and it's not a bad little horror movie. And then I've got another one coming out called The Possession Experiment, where I play kind of a demonic priest. I'm like sort of a spiritualist that turns out to be on the side of the devil instead of the side of good. And so I come in to exorcise this kid, but actually I'm protecting the demon that's inside him, if that makes any sense at all. And then there's some flashback scenes where I'm like running a Satan cult or something with a bunch of women. And so I have some fun stuff to do in that one. And but that one is actually going to get a theatrical release called The Possession Experiment. And from what I haven't seen it yet, but from what I understand, it's very good. It's very scary. Yeah,
Awesome. I am excited to check that out.
yeah, yeah. So yeah. So what else? What do we got? What else is going on?
Well, we're actually at like 43 minutes here. Um,
Okay.
so I think this is a perfect place to stop. I'd like to thank B. Greg Travis again for coming to swim in the bowl with me.
Well, thank you, Sam, and just would like to reiterate all your fans and all your people to be sure and download Dark Seduction when it comes out on pay-per-view October 11th. Don't go to any pirate sites and look for it because hopefully it won't be there. Just go ahead and pay, man up and pay.
Exactly. If you're a true movie fan, man up and
Yeah,
pay. We have video on demand for God's sakes. You don't even
that's
have to
right.
go to the theater. You could just pay. It's like I do this all the time. Like that's how I watched Bloodfather, and it was like like a $6.99 rental, and I had it
Yeah,
for 2 days.
like $5.99, six
Yeah,
ninety nine.
yeah,
Yeah.
and it's great. It's the greatest thing ever, and I think that there's so many actually some. I think as far as story wise goes, um, there's a lot better movies being released on video on demand than in theaters throughout the year versus like the majority that are being released in theaters. And like I've just watched so many awesome films over the last like 2 years that I'm like, why is this not in theaters? Because this would make bank at the box office because me as a movie fan, this is what I want to see. Like I've seen Automata, uh, video on demand, which starred Antonio Banderas, um, uh, Melanie Griffith, and quite a few other stars. And it
Sure,
was like
sure.
a better iRobot. It had to have been based on the same book, but that was amazing. Z for Zachariah. You had Chris Pine and Margaret Robbie, I think is her name.
Oh,
and it was a fantastic film. It was like the story of Cain and Abel in like a end of the world post apocalyptic setting. Really, really just some fantastic films. And then again, Bloodfather. I was so happy to check that out, and I was like, Mel
oh,
Gibson is
good. I'm
back.
going to definitely go check that out. Yeah.
But yeah, so thank you for starting the new segment on the Fishbowl. The Fishbowl's
Cool.
movie segment with Greg Travis.
Cool. Well, thank you so much, Sam, and I will talk to you soon, brother. Have a good
Absolutely,
day.
sounds good. You too.
Okay, brother. Bye bye.
Bye.